Shall I call her, Steve?
If you would, please.
Okay.
Okay, we're on air. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the third Mutual Board of Directors meeting. This is a board meeting. It's every month. We'll be starting out with our open session. This is Tuesday, February 16th, 2021, 9:30 a.m. This is a virtual meeting. So I'll call the meeting to order. We do have a quorum. And at this time, I'd like to ask Director Perry to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you. If you would all stand and place your hand over your heart and join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. At this time, I'd like to acknowledge the media at a distance. And can I get a motion to approve the agenda, please?
I'll make the motion to approve the agenda.
Okay, and Don will second it. Okay, any discussion? Okay, if there is none, we'll consider this by common consensus as approved. Okay, on to item 5, approval of the minutes, January 8th, January 11th, and January 19th. I hear a motion to accept. Go ahead.
I make the motion to approve all those minutes from January 8th, 11th, and 19th.
I will second the motion.
Any discussion or comments? Hearing none, we'll consider them to be approved by consensus. And report of the chair, a few things I just wanted to go over. From the members' meeting, no decision has been made yet. But in case people haven't heard the results, there were 3,856 votes cast. Yes votes received 46%, no votes 17%, and there was an apathy rate of 37%. So the restatement vote did not pass. So that's the results of the election we had recently. Dealing with COVID-19, we want to thank everybody for their patience, showing restraint, and sticking with the rules. Shots are being given, and it looks like we might be almost out of the woods once we get our second shots. And I think it's 5 to 10 days that we need to wait after that, and then we can move forward. I'm sure Jeff and Siobhan will be talking more about that here in a little bit. Those are my comments. Let's go ahead to the open forum, please.
Good morning, President Parsons and board. First of all, I just want to share that I'm receiving some very last-minute comments, so I'm trying to make sure that I have everything in order here. I want to remind all the viewers of this meeting that our procedure for making comments during the open forum has not changed. There are several residents who appear to have believed otherwise, and that's why I'm kind of in a last-minute scramble here. But the reason that the phone number has been provided in the past is so that if you wanted to call into resident services, you could have your message transcribed and it would be read. Or your other option is, of course, to send an email to meeting@vmsinc.org. So as of the beginning of the meeting, these are the comments for today. Hello, my name is Ruth Tabor. I reside at 2207 Via Mariposa East, Unit Q. And she provides her telephone number. No doubt you're aware of my concern regarding the stolen shopping carts from local stores here in Laguna Woods. I've seen them on balconies, carports, and at the laundry facilities, etc. The stolen property gets in through our gates, and I'm advocating that a rule be put in place so that they can be stopped from entering with this known stolen property. And if the offender is opposing this, when I think it warrants the call security, when it warrants a call to security, it's easy for a place to start looking distressed, and the addition of these carts, I feel, adds to this. My next issue is the lack of use of our bus system. Daily, I see 6 to 8 or more of our vehicles lined up at Clubhouse 1, waiting for passengers, only to leave empty or perhaps with one passenger. I have also seen these vehicles in various other places without passengers. Seems to be a hefty expense with the combination of wear and tear, upkeep, insuring, registering, and hiring drivers with their employee packages to see the service either not used or hugely underused. Is there a smarter approach from our board? The second comment is from Rosemary Quinn, address 5480B. Good morning, board members. What is the current status of the purchase of Third Mutual's insurance for 2021-2022? Why have you not merely amended Section 11, the insurance section of the current CC&Rs, to save owners an exorbitant monthly fee increase for next year? Thank you for your answers. And then the third comment comes from Karen Shore, 4012 Calle Sonora Oeste, Unit 3G. Dear Third Mutual board members, first, I'm writing today in follow-up of the special meeting of Third Mutual on January 27th. I will summarize my comments made at that meeting. I feel repeating my comments is necessary to you due to the interruption to my speaking time by 2 board members, which should not have occurred. Those comments by board members were welcomed, but should have been made after I finished speaking. You proposed a change to the quorum requirements for a vote regarding our governing documents. I agree that a change from the 67% of homeowner approval to a simple majority was adequate. I do not support any change to the 60% of homeowners as a requirement for meeting quorum. Secondly, you no doubt are aware that there are many resident stories published in the Globe regarding non-existent and intolerable delays to services provided by Village Management Services over the past year. The business needs of the residents have suffered significantly due to the decisions made by Jeff Parker, CEO, pertaining to the running of our management company. Communities in California currently have businesses open and functioning while following state guidelines. Laguna Woods residents are frustrated that our management company does not do the same. Do we need to hire a consultant or 2 to help Jeff Parker run VMS? Thirdly, by now, you should be aware of the purported disturbing activity by the VMS board recently made public. This activity is, if true, is highly unethical. May I just stop for a moment? I know we have a policy of not discussing personnel in public meetings, and I would just like to make sure that before I proceed with the rest of this, it's acceptable.
We have a standing policy we need to follow.
I just, some input on that.
Go ahead, Lee, can you hear me?
All right, I think I'm going to skip this and we can take it up later. Only because I do know we have a policy that we do not discuss things that take place in confidential sessions. And this is something I know the VMS board is going to be dealing with today. So I'll skip a couple sentences. Residents do not vote for members of the VMS board, but as our board, you do. Residents are not provided any information of the activity of the VMS board, and this needs to change. As representatives of dues-paying residents, you are solely responsible for selection of VMS board members. You have the responsibility to decide who runs VMS. Finally, I believe the third board owes the residents a thorough investigation into a potential cover-up by VMS board, and the residents need to know what you are doing in regards to this matter. I fully appreciate that there are other issues the board is currently working on at this time. Respectfully submitted, Karen Shore. And as of 9:30, that concludes the comments. I will check the box and I will let you know, President Parsons, if I find anything else, but I think the meeting can proceed.
Ruth Tabor on stolen shopping carts throughout the village, and the bus system not used. Jeff or Siobhan, would you like to cover that, please?
President Parsons, I can address both of those, please, this morning. It is our protocol.
Okay,
it is our protocol for gate ambassadors to refuse entry to people trying to enter the community with shopping carts. If they don't listen to the gate ambassadors, security responds. We will send out a reminder to our gate ambassadors to make sure that they are following the protocol. Additionally, we will pick up any shopping carts that are in the community and transport them to the security building. We then call a service that picks up the carts for various retail stores at no charge to us. And then with respect to the fixed route bus system that provides essential transportation services to nearly 300 residents each month, this includes trips to such locations as medical appointments and grocery stores. During the COVID outbreak, ridership has decreased by over half, and staff continually looks for opportunities to reduce operating costs while performing necessary services for our residents who are unable to drive a car. Recent reductions include eliminating Saturday service and combining routes where applicable. Hopefully that answers the questions this morning. Thank you.
Haven't we amended the CCNRs? Well, it's a little more complicated than what it looks like on the surface. To do this, you have to have a closed ballot election to change your CCNRs or your bylaws. That cannot be gotten around. We are looking into how to handle this. The board has not made a decision on this yet. We will be thinking about this and coming forward with a recommendation at another time. Anybody have any comments on that?
Just to update a little bit on insurance, even though we haven't made any decision about how to proceed regarding the CCNRs and specifically as it relates to the insurance issue, we are moving forward in terms of the relationship with our broker and pursuing other avenues and activities as it relates to trying to control the cost of insurance. So we are very active in pursuing that. And once we have some information that we can share publicly, we will do so.
Thank you, Robert. Anybody else? Okay, on to Karen Shor's comments. Karen Shore, thank you for clarifying your position on the 67%, that you're in favor of the simple majority. And folks, that is a lot of people. When you consider we have almost 6,000 people eligible to vote, 3,000 people should be able to make their decision on whether to move forward on something or not. Think of your comment on that. As to delays of services by VMS, I don't want to keep beating the drum on COVID-19 and also malware that's hit us. A lot of things have happened. We are trying to recover from that. And the boards are working closely together to see how to work with VMS and help them out all we can. So further comments, I'll turn it over to Jeff or Siobhan. Would like to discuss this any further.
Thank you, Steve. Good morning, President Parsons and the rest of the board and the community. A couple of updates with regards to COVID and also the vaccine process that we're working on. With regards to COVID numbers, I'm pleased to announce that throughout Orange County, we're seeing a drop in the number of cases, the number of hospitalizations, the number of ICUs, all have dropped pretty rapidly and in a good sequential process over the last couple of weeks. We were over 1,000 hospitalizations. We're well under that, in the 700 range now, and dropped in the ICUs under 300 this over the weekend. So that's really good news. The case rates was about 300 and just a little over 350 this yesterday. So again, last week we had case rates up in the 700, 900 range. So we're seeing positive cases going down and the positivity rate going down. So we're hopefully continue that process. We'll move from the purple to the red. Probably take another 2 or 3 weeks before we see it get close to that, but we're moving clearly in the right direction. More importantly for the village, I'm very pleased to give you an update that we had vaccinations on Friday. We did not receive enough dosage to have Saturday and Sunday from Orange County Health, but we did have Friday vaccinations, and with that, we have vaccinated over 8,500 residents in Laguna Woods Village. So that's including the towers and obviously our operation at Clubhouse 7. So very pleased with the numbers that our partnership with Memorial Care and Orange County Health and our team here at the village has been able to put together that many cases of getting that many vaccines in place. We are now moving into what we call kind of phase 2, which is basically our scheduling for the next few weekends will be fixated on our second dose operation for those people who received their first dose back on January 22nd, 24th. We will start Friday with the towers, and then on Saturday and Sunday, we'll be in full operation at the Clubhouse 7 with regards to meeting the appointment schedules for everybody that came through and got their first vaccinations during that first weekend of the 22nd through the 24th. We're putting together with Memorial Care a portal that will help get your assignment with regards to your vaccination appointment. We are doing that in 3 ways. It's the portal, number 1, which they hope to have up by this afternoon. You'll be able to go on the portal and click on right up at the very top of the process, and that's going through LagunaWoodsVillageAlerts.com. That's LagunaWoodsVillageAlerts.com. And right at the top right-hand part of the page, you'll click on that. It'll go right to the portal, and you can look up your appointment time for this coming Saturday or Sunday. Like I said, will hopefully be up this afternoon, so that'll be your easiest and first choice. We will also have a secondary email approach going out by Memorial Care. They will be taking those people that we have email addresses that are in the queue and sending out an additional email letting you know of your vaccination appointment. And then finally, within 24 hours prior to Saturday and Sunday, we'll also be doing a call to those individuals who potentially couldn't access the portal for some reason, didn't get an email. We'll be following up with a third phase with a phone call on Thursday and Friday for those people that will be coming in this coming Saturday and Sunday. In future weekends, we'll be using more of the portal because it'll be the easiest for people to access for their future appointments. The nice thing about this process in the sense is that we are now starting in that second phase of preparing for the second dose. Just wanted to remind people that are coming in Saturday and Sunday for their second dose to bring their vaccination cards with them. This is the way we will identify that you have an appointment, that you're scheduled to have an appointment. So it's not going to be for individuals who are looking for their first dose. If an individual still hasn't received their first dose and is interested in that, there's really 2 approaches we want you to consider. One, the Athena website, which is with the county, so that they're doing doses every day at the county, and that's through the Athena website. That Athena website will direct you to either SoCa or Disneyland for appropriate to get your first vaccine that way. We will also, however, be taking an email from you if you're still interested in working with us. If you send us an email and say, hey, you're interested, we're going to put a waiting list together. We'll be collecting that through info@LagunaWoodsVillage.com. Don't call the hotline. They're not going to be able to take that information in. Email us at info@LagunaWoodsVillage.com. We'll put a waiting list together. This is for people that are still interested in getting a first shot and having gone through the Athena process with the county. So we'll be working on that with Memorial Care on how we can address those kind of issues with regards to individuals who still haven't received their first call. The other piece of information I wanted to mention, again, with the great partnership with Memorial Care and some of their doctors and nurses and practitioners that helped out with our staff and our volunteers, was that we were able to service 68 residents on house calls over the weekend. These were individuals who had no ability to get, because of a surgery or whatever the situation might be, could not get access to come down to Clubhouse 7. And we were able to go to their residence and get 68 vaccinations over the course of Friday, working on that. So I want to again thank Memorial Care and every volunteer that was involved in that, because I think that was a very special project that we were able to conclude. And that's it on vaccines. I did also wanted to give a quick update. We've been working very hard on trying to improve and continue to make improvements and updates on our manner alterations program. As you know, the manner alterations was one of the ones that was hit hard by not only a loss of employees, but the malware situation and getting behind. So we did a couple of things. We put together a team led by Siobhan Foster. She put together a team with 4 of our seasoned employees from other departments to come in and help address emails and telephone backlog and working in that scenario. And that was to make sure that we talked to everybody that was in the queue that had sent any information in, to make sure that they acknowledged receipt of their inquiries and their applications, and provide general timelines with when we were going to get them through the application process. Along with that, we've hired 4 additional staff people, looking on a couple more people that in the inspection areas that will help with processing and speeding up our timeframes. That's not only with resales, but also with strict manner alterations applications. We are also implementing what I'll call a phased process, in a sense that it's a hierarchy with regards to permits. There are some that we can do quickly over the counter, and then there are some that are quite detailed in their application process. So we're kind of breaking that up into 3 different levels so that we can process more efficiently, some quicker, faster over the counter, and then the other ones identifying which ones will take longer and a little more detail with regards to working with the contractor or the applicant with regards to their application. So we think that will help our processing part of the application. We will be working with the architectural committee for third, as well as we have with United, to look at some additional operation changes that you may want to consider to speed up that process. So with those 3 elements, we're looking forward to the rest of February and getting into March and getting back to normal, I will say, semi-normal with regards to manner alterations and some improvements there. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Siobhan for some updates.
Thank you, Mr. Parker. Honorable President, members of the board, I have a few announcements for the board and the community this morning. First involves new resident orientation. Residents new to the village are encouraged to attend a virtual new resident orientation session. This informational session is an option for new residents to become familiar with the operating rules of the Mutual and talk with a board member who represents the Mutual. The next 3rd Mutual orientation sessions are tomorrow, Wednesday, February 17th at 4:30 p.m. and Friday, March 19th at 9 a.m. Residents must RSVP by emailing Executive Assistant Becky Jackson, and her email address is becky.jackson@vmsinc.org. Also, there are new dates and times for the coin exchange program for laundry quarters. Beginning February 18th, coin exchange for laundry quarters will be offered once a week on Thursdays from 8 a.m. to noon or until supplies run out. The new schedule for 3rd Mutual residents will be the 2nd and 4th Thursdays of each month at Clubhouse 5. Also, we're pleased to announce that the Laguna Woods resident portal is functioning fully and now is available for residents and staff to resume credit card processing, submitting service requests, check account balances, print account statements, update emergency contacts, and review resident and vehicle information. Recently, we also received word from Arizona Pipeline that work scheduled to begin today, February 16th, to upgrade Southern California Edison equipment at 5 locations in the village has been postponed for up to 2 weeks. The SCE equipment upgrade will start at Punta Alta in Third Mutual and then move to 4 United sites. In Third Mutual, an existing vault will be relocated in front of 3415B to the center of the street. Village landscaping, asphalt, and concrete impacted by this work will be replaced by Edison and Arizona Pipeline to the satisfaction of the village. And lastly, I want to remind everyone that this Saturday, February 20th, is the next free bulky item collection date. Please remember to notify resident services prior to setting out bulky items. The number is 949-597-4600. Place bulky items near your trash enclosure or in the same location you place your trash bins. Set out the items the night before or no later than 7 a.m. on collection day. And that concludes my updates this morning. Thank you.
Very much. I would like to ask Rosemary De Lorenzo, who's president of VMS Board, if she has any update that she would like to share with us just now from the board.
Steve, before you go further, may I ask a question or two to Siobhan or the staff?
Okay, let me come back to that though first.
Okay.
Go ahead, Rosemary.
Okay, thank you, Steve. It is very disheartening to read or have read on social media that totally inaccurate information about the conduct of the VMS board. The information described is false as to the process and the actions taken by our board. Now, I would like all the residents to remember that most of us who are on the board have been longtime volunteers in the community, and you know us, and you know our honesty and integrity. Unfortunately, this false information leads us to believe that a VMS board member breached the confidentiality of closed session and misstated and misrepresented our work at the meeting. So we are having a closed meeting today to get to the bottom of this, and we will make corrective action. We want to apologize to Jeff Parker for this blatant disregard of him by the culprits who put together and publicized this very false information, actually these lies. We want to assure you that the VMS board is totally committed to always do the best for our community. Please trust us. Thank you very much, Steve.
Thank you very much. Is there any other questions or comments? I think Kush has some.
Kush, yeah, it's Kush. I had a question to Siobhan. With the bulky item pickup, is there a date or time for any electronic pickup, or is it together? Like computers and monitors and stuff, can they be done?
Director Bottle, let me get that information and get back to you. Please let me get that information and I'll get back to you before the end of the meeting.
Oh, okay, thank you. And lastly, I have one other thing. I got a call from one of the residents that he sent in his comments like a email to be read to the board, and it got overlooked. Eileen, did you get a message other than the 3 that you received?
We've received 2 more since we just did the public comment, but I'm not aware of one from a gentleman.
The gentleman's name is Jules Zalan.
Mr. Zolan contacted us and told us that he would like to speak at the meeting. It's my understanding that he was told by President Parsons.
Oh, he did send in an email subsequently.
Okay, let me interject here.
Okay.
Director Bada, we are past time for this. He did not get back to me this morning after we had after I communicated with him and answered what I thought was his question. The time is past for open forum. We're moving forward.
What? I just thought I'd pass this message down.
He can call in and give his comments. We can respond to him later. We're moving ahead with further business.
Okay.
Okay, moving on to item 10.
President Parson, this is Reza.
Yes.
I have a question. question or comment for Mr. Parker. Can I ask?
Sure, go ahead.
This is in regard to the COVID report. First, I want to really thank Eileen and the whole VMS for really putting this program together. It is great. I visited that, clubhouse frequently, and this is an excellent effort and really dedication to helping our people. I want to make sure that I register at least personal and probably a lot of people thanks to Eileen and all the volunteers that working in that area. Now, the question comes, we have about probably over 60% of our community had the first shot, if not more, because a lot of people went outside, and I know that we got about around between 7,000 to 8,000, which is probably half of our population. So it's safe to say probably 60% plus of our community have the first shot. Next 2 weeks, we're going to get the second shots for the first batch of people, which is going to be around 50% of the community. The question is, with the progress that we're making and with the robust policy that we have for visitors, is there a different policy for our community, which is semi-closed community, if we have a good, robust visitors policy? Can we start really considering and speeding up the opening up the services that people can use and how that would work out? That's a question I have. Thank you.
If I understood the question right, and I hope I did, we will be definitely and have already started to evaluate our programs here at the village with regards to as this vaccination, the second shot occurs, and the time frame for getting that done, and also potentially the amount of people that are getting their first and second shots outside of whether it's Disneyland or at SoCa that are part of the community. Certainly that's going to weigh into the regards to looking at how and when we can open up, start to open up facilities and look at that. We also have to take into account our employees, obviously. And some of our employees certainly have been able to, because of their age situation, get first shots, and we're looking at the second dosage for some of those individuals. But there are a number of individuals who work here that are certainly in the under 55 age group, so not all of those people have been able to get vaccinations at this point in time. So it's a combination of evaluating all that with regards to making sure that our employees are safe and secure, as well as the residents are safe and secure as they interact with in the village. So the answer is yes to you, that we will be and already have started to evaluate when we think that's going to be possible, and we'll be providing additional information to the boards as that comes to fruition. Hope that answered your question.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Moving on to consent calendar. Do I hear a motion to accept the consent calendar? Lynn?
Motion to
accept the
calendar.
Okay, Debbie seconds it. All righty. Is there any discussion? Lynn? You're muted. There you go.
Page 2 of 4. 10C, page 2 of 4. It's a committee, not a task force, on the Resident Policy and Compliance Committee. It's been a committee for 3 years, so we just want to get that straightened out. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions?
Steve, under the...
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, okay, that's too far down, never mind, sorry.
Okay. Okay, that's basically a scrivener's error on that, I think we can take care of. So if there's no objection, we'll go ahead and consider approval by common consent on consent calendar. Okay, item 11, there's no unfinished business. Number 12, I'll turn it over to the corporate secretary, to Lynn, talk about 12A.
Okay. 12A, just a moment, please. Excuse me, now that I need to talk. Okay, we have a new resolution on barbecue grills and regulations. I will read the resolution. It's short. It's whereas the Resident Compliance and Policy Committee has recognized the need to adopt a barbecue grill rules and regulations to set forth guidelines for the use of barbecue grills. Now, therefore, be it resolved on, we'll see what the date is. The Board of Directors of the Corporation hereby adopts the barbecue grill rules and regulations as attached to the official minutes of this meeting, and resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out this resolution. I want to talk a little bit about, before I complete this, I want to say this policy is one that's been in the works for a long, long time. We want to make sure we outline the safety procedures. That's one of the biggest things about this policy is safety. This is what we took on when we embarked on barbecuing in Laguna Woods. We don't want to eliminate barbecues, but we do want to put forth a policy that will outline what types of equipment then can safely be used, especially in multi-story units. Safety is the primary focus of this policy, like I said again, and I'm going to say it more often. We need to educate current residents and incoming ones as well, that we have our eye on safety for the good of all. In the past 18 months, we've had 2 barbecue fires. One was in a 3-story building in an enclosed patio, and another was on a patio on a single-story place. It was a triplex, and the barbecue got on fire and went through the patio roof and burned through part of the roof of the structure of the building, which makes it a very expensive repair. And no one was injured on either one of these fires, thank goodness. The purpose of this policy is to put regulations in place that will save all our residents from possible injury to themselves and to the structures. General rules include ones such as open flame grills are prohibited in multi-story buildings where only electric grills are permitted. Charcoal grills are expressly prohibited throughout residential. Open flame grills must be located at least 10 feet from combustible material and may not be used in an enclosed area. We are proposing that any cooking device should have no tank that contains more than 15 pounds of net weight of propane. If you have a larger tank, it is suggested you go to a smaller one when possible. I want to mention here that on the California Fire Department website, it talks about and gives the rules for California fire rules. And in the verbiage, it mentions that Laguna Woods balked at efforts to apply these restrictions. And, you know, and that was interesting. It was the only place they mentioned in all of California. Now, I'm sure places where everybody hasn't adhered to their policies or made their requirements. But Laguna Woods was pointed out. I thought that was very interesting. One very important point here that I want people to realize is that open fire barbecues will be allowed, people will still be allowed to retain their barbecues. However, at the time of replacement of a grill, they must adhere to the new policy. So in other words, we're not removing barbecues. We're not demanding that. But we would like you, when you replace them, to adhere to the new policy. And additionally, when new residents move into the community, they will have to check the box in their resale document that they will abide by the rules of this resolution. So it's kind of like when you move it, well, I won't give you an analogy, but we do have to make sure that the new residents come in don't bring their big barbecues with them. and they're gonna know what the barbecue policy is because it's gonna be handed to them, anybody that's moving in. And even the lease, lessees will have to abide by this policy as well. So this, resolution will go on 28-day, form to post, it postpones the resolution to 28 days to comply with the Civil Code 4360. Thank you.
Could you also take us through item 12B? This is to introduce a resolution on social media use.
All right, this is social media use policy. Whereas the President Policy and Compliance Committee has recognized the need to adopt a social media use policy to set forth guidelines for individuals serving in a representative capacity for the mutual. And whereas mutual representatives includes directors, committee members, advisors, and/or volunteers who may wish to communicate with other residents and members outside of official meetings about mutual business via social media platforms. And whereas these communications may inadvertently give the impression to others that they, the representative, are speaking in an official capacity as a representative of the mutual. And whereas the requirements for the Davis-Sterling Common Interest Development Act that official mutual business only be conducted at officially noticed meetings. And now therefore be it resolved on March 2021, the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby adopts a social media use policy as attached to the official minutes of this meeting. And resolve further that the officers, agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out this resolution as written. I'm going to give you a little summary here, a little bit of a summary. The Resident Policy and Compliance Committee reviewed policies and processes for consistency. The committee and staff have identified areas of improvement, including the need to have a social media policy. Although we do have conduct guidelines for directors, we felt we need to take it further now that social media is being used more broadly now than ever before and is definitely here to stay. The fact is that these type of communications may inadvertently give the impression to others that the representatives are speaking in official capacity representing the mutual. This policy includes directors, committee members, advisors, and/or volunteers who wish to communicate with other residents outside of official meetings about mutual business via social media platforms. As I mentioned before in the resolution, Davis-Sterling requires official mutual business only be conducted at officially noticed meetings. This policy also provides guidelines for former representatives as well. All representatives of the mutual are expected to conduct themselves in a manner appropriate to such position and will not reflect poorly on the mutual or expose the association to undue risk or potential liability. Information is circulated via social media may be incorrect or reflect poorly on the individual, the board, a particular committee, or the mutual and its staff. There are guidelines and expectations of how violations of the policy are handled. We have excellent communication tools that are provided by the staff with a wonderful website that continually improves. We also have the excellent Breeze magazine publishing bi-monthly and the WhatsApp email blast going out weekly. We have TV6. We have This Day. Let's use the tools that your assessments pay for. Our association depends on residents utilizing resident services to express their needs and is a place that they can take their complaints as well. We do not, and let me be clear, we do not go out on social media looking for residents' complaints. We record our problems and take care of them systematically. All are accounted for in our system. So with that, I recommend that we postpone this resolution to the next available board meeting for 28 days. No less than 28 days from now. Thank you.
Okay, any comments about this at all? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead into committee reports. And the report of the Finance Committee, Director Muchnick.
Thank you, Director Parsons. Grant, do we have the slides?
Yes, one moment.
Thank you. I'm going to start by saying, as your treasurer, I'm pleased to share with you the figures we have for the month of December 2020. We are still working on the closing figures for the year 2020 and will most likely not have final figures for you until April of 2020. The reason for the delay is that we are compelled to wait until we have all invoices from vendors for 2020, and some of them are exceedingly slow in submitting their invoices. We use a modified accrual-based accounting approach. This means that revenue is recorded when earned and expenses are recorded when incurred. Invoices from vendors delineate the expenses, so we wait until these vendors submit them. Next slide, please. This slide depicts the third income for the mutual for the last 3 months, October, November, and December. Assessment revenue year to date at the end of December is $33,164,000, while non-assessment revenue is $2,024,000 for the same time period. Adding these two together, our total revenue year to date is $35,187,000, as evidenced by the bar chart in the center of the center of the picture. As the three bars on the left side demonstrate, assessment revenue month over month is steady, with growth for December of $2,764,000, which is exactly the same as November's assessment revenue. Looking at the group of bars second from the left, non-assessment revenue for the month of December was an additional $1,000 over the previous month. Now, looking at the set of bars in the middle of the slide for the month of December, third had expenses, it's not the middle, it's the third from the right. Third had expenses of $2,764,000 with total expenses. The second set of bars from the right for the year to date of $34,184,000. Now looking at the bar graphs on the far right of the chart, Third Mutual had a net revenue of $1,003,000, which is a substantial decrease of $2,208,000 in net revenue for the 30 days ending in December. This is greater than we expected. The cost for our insurance represents a substantial portion of the additional expenses we have incurred year to date. However, the good news is that for 2021 budget year, the increased cost of insurance has been accounted for in our budget as we go forward. Next slide, please. This slide presents data for income for the operating fund only for the 3 months ending in December. Looking at the bar graph at the far left of the chart, assessment revenue increased over the most recent 30-day period by $1,686,000, exactly the same amount as the previous month, which is what we expect for every month. Our assessment revenue is staying steady month over month, year to date. Now, shifting your gaze to the second set of bar graphs from the left. Non-assessment revenue increased by $100,000. Added to the assessment revenue increase I just spoke about, results in a total revenue increase of $1,786,000 in December. Now, looking at the set of bar graphs third from the right, Third Mutual had a grand total revenue in operating fund of $21,372,000 for year to date. Now I ask you to look at the bar graphs second from the right side of the chart. Total expenses during the same period, Third, total expenses increased by $1,680,000 for total expenses year-to-date of $21,225,000. Subtracting total expenses year-to-date from total revenue year-to-date takes us to the bar graph on the far right, which leaves us now with a surplus of $147,000. Though there is a positive blip of just over $100,000 in our operating surplus for the month of December, it is not likely to stay this way as we wait for additional expenses to come in over the next few months. As stated earlier, our operating surplus has been dramatically impacted by cost of such items as unexpected insurance increases and also outside vendors now submitting invoices. Slide number 4, please. This slide compares our actual revenues and expenses to what was originally budgeted. As can be seen from the slide, actual and budgeted assessment revenue was, as one would expect, the same. That's on the far left. Looking at the non-assessment revenue, the second set of bar graphs from the left, the actual is in red, the budgeted is in green, while the variance is in yellow. Non-assessment revenue had a positive variance of $36,000 over budgeted for year-to-date ending in December. Now, looking at the bar graphs in the section second from the right, total expense, one can see that our actual expenses year-to-date were $3,387,000 less than budgeted. Shifting your gaze to the bar graphs on the far right, Third Mutual is left with $3,424,000 in revenue over expenses year-to-date. Next slide, please. This slide provides you with a picture of select budget items and the current variance associated with each for the month of December. Well, the last 3 months, October, November, December. You also have the opportunity to see how each of these variances compares to the variance for each category at the end of both October and November. The top bar in each category, which are green, represent variances at the end of October, while the middle bars, which are gold, represent the dollar amount of variance for each category at the end of November. And finally, the bottom bar in each category, the brown bars, represent this reporting period, December. As you can see, looking at only the brown bars, Third continues to have favorable variances for each of the categories for outside service, employee compensation, materials and supplies, unrealized gains on AFS, and utilities and telephone for the period ending December 31st. There's been a positive variance in each of these categories for the past 3 months. With the expected invoices from outside vendors that will come in over the next few weeks, we will fully expect this positive variance in outside services, which is currently $2,037,000, to decrease considerably. The last 2 categories have unfavorable variances. In the case of insurance, the unfavorable variance continues to be the result of higher than expected premiums to the tune of $1,312,000 additional year-to-date. Thankfully, December should be the last month of paying more than we budgeted in this area. Next slide, please. This slide depicts 2 pie charts, the one on the left for November 30th, while the one on the right is for total non-assessment revenue for the period ending the 31st of December. Third had additional total non-assessment income of $486 month over month. Most of the different categories of the 2 pie charts stayed within 1 or 2 percentage points of the previous month, except for unrealized gain loss on AFS, which dropped by 7%. Next slide, please. This slide also depicts 2 pie charts for comparison purposes. Month over month, Third had additional expenses of $4,972,000. The percentage of expenses for each category remained fairly similar month over month, except for outside services, which increased by 4%. If we remember the slides of selected variances, the positive variance for the month of December decreased by $1,673,000. Thus, the 4% increase in outside services as a portion of December's total expenses. Again, this was fully expected since at the end of the fiscal year, we always tend to receive invoices for outside services that have recently been submitted. I have no explanation why many of the outside service vendors are late to submit invoices, but it does seem to be a pattern for some. And slide number 8, please. For this slide, as always, I like to direct you to look first at the lower right-hand corner. As of the 31st of December, Third Mutual had $29,787,000 in revenue, in reserves and contingencies. This represents a decrease in this category of approximately $2,305,000 for the past month. Included in this total is $68,000 in the Garden Villa Fund, an increase of $2,000 from the last month, just over $4,326,000 in the unappropriated expenditures, an increase of $54,000 from the previous month. In the Disaster Fund, $8,988,000, a decrease of $1,459,000 month over month. And finally, $17,864,000 in the Replacement Fund, which is an increase of $54,000 over the previous month total in this category. Year to date, Third had $13.8 million in contributions and interest added to these funds, while we had $12.8 million in expenditures for a net increase year to date of just over $990,000, which is the total increase in the non-operating fund balances year to date. Slide number 9, please. This slide compares the different fund balances for the past 5 years, which have averaged $29.2 million. Please note that Third has been committed to supporting the goals of the reserve requirements, while at the same time trying to balance the need for unexpected events. As evidenced by this slide, we are making progress, albeit small, but still progress to increasing our fund balances. And the last slide, please. This slide provides you with a picture of the resale situation for Third for the past 3 years. Year to date, we are down 69 resales for the same time last year and 54 resales from 2 years ago this same time. However, some good news is that the average resale price for Third is $418,000 per unit sold. December, with 45 resales, if you look at the far right of the chart, 45 resales represents the best December in the last 3 years and an increase of 17 resales over the previous month of November. Resales continue to be strong in January as well. That concludes the Treasurer's report for this month. Our next Finance Committee meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, March 2nd at 1:30. In the meantime, stay healthy, and hopefully many of you will begin getting your second Moderna vaccine beginning this weekend. Once we finish with the vaccination program, hopefully we can begin opening up more of the amenities. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Robert? Okay, moving on to the report of the Architectural Controls and Standards Committee. We met this last month on February 2nd. A couple items I would like to bring up to share with folks. Concern has come forward as to the cost. It seems to be exorbitant for the installation of solar panels. People may not realize that we do have a policy on this. We have considerations we have to take up in determining whether a person can put solar on their roof or not. Some things are structural considerations, the condition of the roofs, and the provisions that we have to meet with our regular roofing contract. So in looking at this, we're going to take a look at it more in depth. And a lot of things are going to be considered by the M&C committee. And then we will be bringing it back to our committee if we think that changes need to be made. So I just wanted to address that a little bit. Another concern to our people is asbestos abatement. A lot of people have said that the amount that is charged is very exorbitant. And this is possibly true. So we're looking into that. But along with this, there are requirements from the ATMD Department of the Government in Cal OSHA. And at one time, we were told that you could have 100 square feet. You didn't have to have a treatment services. But these two departments are in conflict with each other, and we have hope to hold a meeting soon on this to decide which way to go. So that meeting is being set up, and we will let you know more as things are discussed in the meeting. We're able to determine the proper course of action. Okay, on to meeting and communications, Director McCary.
The Communications Committee, thank you, President Parsons. We met in January. This is a quarterly meeting, and the next meeting is to be announced. Thank you.
Okay, on to maintenance construction, Director Mutsak.
Similar to Director McCary's statement, the M&C committee met last on January 4th. I reported on that meeting at our January board get-together. The next meeting of the M&C committee is March 1st at 1:30.
Thank you very much. And Director Dotson will be talking about the parking and golf cart subcommittee.
Yes, we met on January 20th, and we hadn't met for a year, so there was some things to talk about. We will be meeting again on March 12th, and we are talking about not only the parking spaces within Third Mutual, but also we are looking at potential EV. I know that's been something that's been discussed out in our community of late because there are some programs, but rest assured that we are addressing this. And while we don't have specifics to share, perhaps next month we will.
Okay, thank you very much. On to the Garden Villa Rec Room Subcommittee, Director Jarrett.
We haven't met since October, but our next meeting is going to be February the 23rd at 1:30 p.m. Thank you.
I want to continue on with the Landscape Committee report, please.
The Landscape Committee met on February the 4th. Landscape Director Weeman stated that he is working on FAQs to put onto our website. And so we asked the committee members to bring any that they would like to be added to next month's meeting. So that's going to be really great to have those on the website. Additionally, Director Weeman is going to work with Chuck Holland from IT to enhance the website as far as landscaping is concerned. To make it easier for residents to find the map, the crew schedules in their area, the landscape manual, and the tree request form, as well as the FAQs. Mr. Weeman went over the project log and the tree work status report. He brought forth the proposed landscape modernization turf reduction project for 2021, which was discussed and approved by the committee to proceed on as soon as possible. One tree removal request by a member was approved to take to the board today, and final approval for two denials were submitted to the board today and they were handled in the consent calendar. Thank you. The most important item on the agenda for the month was the resolution for an all-inclusive tree maintenance policy that was passed by the committee and approved within the consent calendar today. This is a very important item. This policy primarily pertains to tree topping, tree trimming, and tree removal. Our policy before today prohibited removing trees, trimming, and topping them for view. It was not a strong policy, and on occasion we incurred legal bills because our policy was contested in the courts. The new policy spells out this much more clearly that trees will not be trimmed, removed, or topped in order to preserve, enhance, or create a view. These three words are quite meaningful and leaves no doubt that we are not in the business of preserving, enhancing, or creating views. We have 34,000 trees in the village, and the cost for each mutual to maintain our trees is upwards of $1 million a year. Again, remember that we are not in the business to preserve, enhance, or create a view. And those of you who are growing vegetables anywhere rather than in the garden center, you are subject to a hearing and a fine. Vegetables attract rats. We have a big rat problem in the villages. It's a worldwide problem, but it's big. Our policy is spelled out in the landscape manual on our website. So remember, we don't want vegetables growing anywhere except in the garden plots. One more item. We are looking at ways of continuing education on our policies, our schedule, and maps on the website, and of communicating with resident services for your needs. The next meeting will be March the 4th at 9:30 a.m. Thank you.
One thing I wanted to add to that is, in talking with the director of landscape, our irrigation system is over 50 years old. And we started a program in third to start funding replacement of underground water pipes, sprinkler heads, and different switching boxes and valves. So wanted people to be aware of that. If you see them digging up old pipes, replacing them, then you'll know why. But this is going to be an ongoing program for a while, probably a few years down the road. But just for your awareness, the whole irrigation system is over 50 years old. As you can imagine, we have to update this system. Okay, thank you very much, Director Garrett. On to the Water Committee with Director Rain Solstad.
Yes, thank you. And the Water Conservation, it's important that everyone knows it is the Water Conservation Committee because it's so important to us. Met on January the 20th. It was indeed our first meeting in a year due to COVID limiting some meeting availability. And what we are basically planning for the year, because of the importance of water here, not only in Orange County, but Laguna Woods, is some brief educational programs throughout the year to kind of help us educate us on water conservation. Here in Orange County, we only get our water from somewhere else. We really don't have a natural source of it here, except both times that it rains during the year. So that's our biggest plan. We do meet quarterly, and our next meeting will be April 21st. And we look forward to being able to present to you some opportunities. We'll have educational programs in collaboration with El Toro Water District, both on Channel 6, and very brief snatches of educational programs here in our third mutual meetings when appropriate, so that everybody can learn from them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The Resident Policy and Compliance Task Force, Director Jarrett. You're muted. There you go.
You've heard from this committee today. We met and on February the 3rd, and we solidified the two policies that we brought forth on barbecue and social media today in the consent calendar. So we had a very fruitful meeting. And our next meeting is scheduled for, I think, April the 4th. I've got to check on that for sure. It just got changed this morning. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. On to GRF committee highlights. The Community Activities Committee, Director Karimi.
President Parson, the CAP committee met on February 11th, and there was a number of issues that was discussed. The issue with the COVID, I guess, vaccination was discussed briefly, but in detail by the Mr. Parker. So I'm not going to go through that. The other issue is that the GRF is updating the garden center policy. Also, they're doing a lot of weeding and trimming. They're also looking at to install a gate for Garden Center 2. The golf course, the new Tee Time reservation software is updated and is available. And they have a new maintenance manager for the golf center. And the good news is that they have a solid booking of Tee Time. And that's good for the business and for the people. The horse center is operating smoothly. They installed 3 for shades, adding more lights, getting beds for outdoor arena, and they expecting to be at full capacity by March. So everything is moving forward, and everyone's getting busy, and that's good news. And that's because I think spring is coming. Everyone's getting out. The driving range project, that MSC committee for the GRF for the renovation, and there will be news later about that. The malware is still impacting the clubhouses. There are still computers that are not working at the clubhouses, and VMS is working on that and getting it, hopefully they're getting it done soon. Also, they're working, the EMS working on the conditional reopening of the facilities based on the guideline from the state and county, and how we're going to be able to get the vaccination going within the community. But everyone agreed that the work of our volunteers and communication department and everyone at the VMS for getting COVID vaccine was greatly, recognized and appreciated. That's my report. Thank you. Oh, the next meeting is March 11th.
Okay, thank you very much. On to the Equestrian Center Ad Hoc Committee, Director Bada.
Thank you, Director Parsons. We had our first meeting of the year on January 6th, which was reported at the last board meeting. The next meeting is March the 4th, and we will have some more information at our next board meeting. But thank you, Director Karimi. You have covered a lot of stuff that was discussed at your CAC, which could have been part of my report. So thank you for doing that. Appreciate it.
Sorry about that.
No, thank you, in fact.
Okay, on to the GRF Finance Committee, Director Muchnick.
Thank you. The GRF Finance Committee officially last met December 16th. Its next scheduled meeting is tomorrow, the 17th at 1:30. So I'm sure I'll have a full report at our next board meeting, because they only meet once every 2 months. Thank you.
Thank you very much. On to the GRF Landscape Committee, Director Jarrett.
They didn't have a meeting. They rescheduled it to March the 10th, but I do want to make a note of something. Yesterday, as I walked down by the creek, and the creek is handled with the GRF Landscape Committee. Yesterday, with a friend, we saw this huge turtle. Well, if you remember a few months ago, we reported that there were 3 turtles removed from the creek because they were non-residents. They're not supposed to be there. So whatever agency heads that up, because they have a lot of agency heading up different areas of the creek, had to remove those 3 turtles to save the 1 turtle that's protected. It's protected species. Well, yesterday we saw that turtle, and I have to send Kurt Weeman a picture of it today because it's huge. I mean, it's just unbelievable how big it is. Anyway, so I just thought I would mention that as something of interest. When you're walking by the creek, look for the big turtle.
Thank you very much. GRF Maintenance Construction Committee, Director Frankel.
We had a very, very extensive, probably 6-hour meeting. The first item we discussed was the driving range, and that's very much up in the air as to how we're going to solve all of those issues. It's a over $600,000 project. The architect is Tom Maloney, and Tom McKay is the manager, and they made presentations. And the final resolution is on hold. We'll have an on-site meeting again within the next week to try to resolve the many issues. We then had detailed presentations by Amoresco on sustainable energy and by ChargePoint for EV charging, and there was extensive discussion in that regard. Parking lot light location was a somewhat controversial issue. The parking lot lighting was installed at the maintenance center, and it was installed at the wrong location. And the question was, well, how did that happen? Whose fault was it? And that has not been resolved. They probably won't move the light, however. And that pretty much, and then we talked about the welding shop and other issues that have to be resolved. And that completes my report.
Okay. On to Clubhouse One Renovation Ad Hoc Committee. Director Engdahl.
No new action on this count, and no meeting scheduled as far as I know yet. That's to be determined.
Okay, thank you. On to Media and Communications, Director McGarry.
Thank you, President Parsons. The Media and Communications Committee did meet on January 18th, and I reported on at our last board meeting. The next meeting, our meeting was postponed because of the holiday, which was yesterday. So the next meeting is scheduled for February 22nd at 11:30 a.m., and it is going to be a virtual meeting.
Thank you very much. Mobility and Vehicles Committee, Director Karimi.
President Parson, the Mobility and Vehicle Committee met on February 3rd, and according to the VMS report, I guess one of the members asked earlier a question about the number of buses and riders and all of that. There was very comprehensive reports from VMS about the ridership. Eventually, we have three type of ride shares. One is fixed route ridership that goes to the neighborhood and shopping Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. The number of average users for that was about 346. That's on average. The commercial route part of it, which is very popular, eventually user per month, there is about 4,000 users every month. I don't know, is 4,000 ride, but I don't know that's 10 people riding 4,000 times or 1,000 people riding 4,000 times. We're getting some more information on that. The second type of ride they have called Journey is 7 days a week, 8 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Average number of trips, that's about 403. Average user is about 65 people, which means about 65 people times 7 days a week, that's about 400. So it looks like we have 65 people that using that type of activity more often. And the third type called Boost is Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. And the average user for that is 32 for the month. And you have to call to the transportation or use apps to use that. After that report, I requested see if we can get some financial on these three different rides, so we possibly can do some evaluation on the cost per ride and things like that, and see what we can do to improve the process and save money at the same time, not cut the services, but improve the services and save some money at the same time. The other issue was that there was $1.2 million for the new vehicle purchases. Those are to replace the old vehicle. They're also working on the policy for obsolete equipment. And there was one purchase of one miscellaneous equipment, pickup truck F330 for $55,000 to replace the existing one, which is not really repairable, or the cost of repair is pretty high. That's my report for the next meeting of that is April 7th. That's my report. Thank you.
We can't hear you, President Parsons.
Go ahead.
I think he's speechless after my report.
Okay.
You're underwater, Steve.
Go ahead, Andy, take all.
Okay, thank you. So the next item is the Security and Community Access Committee, Director Bada.
Thank you, Director McCary. Our last meeting for the Security and Community Access was December the 28th. And since then, we reported all this at our last board meeting, the information from there. Our next meeting for the security is February 22nd, coming up next week at 1:30 p.m. It will be a virtual meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Bada. The next item, Disaster Preparedness Task Force, and I'll present that report. The committee did meet on January 26th. There was a radio communications drill that was conducted, and 10 of the 14 operators responded. In terms of Good Neighbor Captain recruitment efforts for the Good Neighbor Captain are ongoing. There was some discussion about a training program for current and new Good Neighbor Captains in coordination with the American Red Cross, and more information on that is going to be forthcoming. Also, the coordinator of the Disaster Task Force is reaching out to current Good Neighbor Captains on their list to see if they still desire to be a Good Neighbor Captain, and also to see if they even still reside in the village. And the database will be updated based on that new information. The Pet Evacuation Committee is partnering with the American Red Cross in developing a pet evacuation plan, and more information on that is going to be forthcoming. There is a radio antenna at the tower has been approved for installation. And the next meeting, which will be a virtual meeting, is scheduled for March 30th. And that's the end of my report. The next report is report of the Laguna Woods Village traffic hearing. Director Dodson.
Yes. We met on January 20th. We had just a couple of hearings. One of which was basically that the person wasn't educated on our policies, which are readily available at our website. So I encourage residents to please read our policies online. We have our next meeting on February 17th, but there are no hearings, so it will be just a quick consent meeting held virtually. That's it.
Thank you, Director Dodson. The GRF Strategic Planning and Ad Hoc Committee, Director Muchnick.
Thank you. This committee has created a number of subcommittees, one of which is the Customer Experience Subcommittee, of which Kush Bada and I are both members representing Third Mutual. The subcommittee met on the 4th of February for almost 2 hours, discussing and considering VMS staff's draft 6-month customer experience strategic objectives. The next meeting is yet to be scheduled. That's it.
Thank you. Let's see, the Ad Hoc Committee, Budget Ad Hoc Committee.
Okay, I can do that. This committee had its first meeting recently, and most of the time was spent on organizational activities. At this point in time, GRF has chosen not to participate, indicating they are looking into budget issues on their own. The Ad Hoc Budget Committee is focused more on reserves and operating budget timelines, while the GRF budget appears to be more focused on capital issues. There is a belief that there is a need to understand service levels of the different divisions. In other words, how the different divisions are performing and what their needs are. Sue Margolis of United chairs this committee, this Ad Hoc Committee, and she led the discussion about areas in which more information is needed so that the different boards, VMS, United, GRF, and Third, can more effectively participate in the budgeting process. To this end, the following areas were identified: security, recreation, broadband services, transportation, janitorial services, IT, M&C, landscaping, and residential services. While most of the above are GRF budget responsibilities, the committee believes that since it is United and Third that primarily fund GRF, that we need more information so that we can also budget accordingly. In addition, the budget timeline was discussed in a fair amount of detail with members of VMS, including individuals from the Finance Division. The next meeting of this ad hoc committee is yet to be scheduled. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Munchnick. So we move now to agenda item 15, future agenda items. Any future agenda items the committee want to add to the list? Director Dotz,
I just want to, under the 15A, I think that I'll be prepared to make a brief presentation in March.
Okay. So that being the case, then maybe we can add that to the regular agenda instead of the future agenda items?
Yes.
Any other additions to future agenda items from the board? Okay, so we move on now to agenda item 16, director comments. And so I will start with Donna.
No comments, thank you.
Okay. Director Bada?
Nothing special, but has Director Parsons been able to join us?
We can see his face, yes.
I'm trying. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Were you able to receive my text? I had requested something from you.
No, I haven't.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Director Bada.
One second.
Is there a comment?
Yes, I was going to ask if we were going to have staff read any of the resident comments that we missed.
I addressed that with you, that they had not come in by the time the session was over. We will address them separately.
All right. No other comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Bada. Director Wayne.
One thing that you might note is that for our vaccinations, we've had our security department there. And they've been doing an excellent job of telling people where to park, how to get in, and all the information that's needed for the residents when they show up. So our security department has been doing a good job on that. That's all.
Thank you, Director Wayne. Director Frankel.
I have no specific comments other than I should like to thank Robert for his assistance in the vaccination program. He's there personally and helped out with all of the volunteers, and we really needed you. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Jarrett?
I have nothing. Good meeting, thank you.
Thank you. Director Munchnick?
I just want to recognize Eileen Paulin. I don't think she gets enough credit for all the work that she has done regarding this vaccination program. She worked to help set it up with Memorial Care. She has spent numerous hours during the week, and then on weekends, she's there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday when needed, and she spends hours handling and solving problems, and she's been absolutely wonderful in terms of what she's done for the residents of Laguna Woods Village, and she just deserves a very large thank you from all of us.
Thank you. Thank you, Director Munchnick. Yes.
I will echo Robert's comment. Thank you very much, Eileen.
Thank you, Director.
Well, you're all very welcome, and I really believe strongly that we've been very fortunate to have this opportunity. And I want you all to remember this 6 months from now when you're upset with me over something else.
Thank you, Eileen. Director Engel.
No additional comment, thank you.
Okay. Reza, Director Karimi.
Thank you. I have no comment. Eileen, thank you. I remember 6 months from now, and I'm going to tell you something.
Thank you. Director Dotson?
Well, Robert stole part of mine because I was also going to thank Eileen, but in general, I just want to thank VMS and Eileen and everybody who's done anything to do with this vaccination program here. I hope our residents will realize just what effort, a Herculean effort, went into bringing this to our community when it was not really our responsibility to do so, but because we all care and people cared, this is how this occurred. So I cannot thank VMS and everyone involved, Memorial Care, Eileen, Robert for volunteering and anybody else who volunteered, but just bravo everyone. And that is just one step in the right direction to getting us back to the new normal, as they call it. And that's my only comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Parson, do you have any comments?
I appreciate everybody's comments and all the hard work that's gone into it. Thank you, Rosemary, for your comments, and looking forward to closed session.
Okay, let's see. VMS, Rosemary, did you have a comment?
Thank you very much. Steve has already allowed or given me the opportunity to make my comment. I'm still in a state of shock over it, but I'll move on. We are answering Steve's request for regarding the contract. I just got a little waylaid by this terrible lying, and I too having worked as a volunteer, really appreciate the volunteers who were there. It's a lot to stand up that long or run around or whatever. But Eileen has done an incredible job. So has Lise. And, we thank Jeff and Siobhan for giving them the opportunity to take this on. And also Diane, who is on the VMS board, who lives in Third, has been absolutely incredible. I never knew that she was such an organizer, and she's in charge. She and Joan are in charge of the volunteers, and it has just been, she's like such a dynamo that it's great to have her around helping and organizing. And thank you for the opportunity to serve the boards and serve the community. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Wei Ming, you have a comment?
Yeah. I'd like to emphasize regarding Kevin Short's accusation of VMS board. They are absolutely false. Absolutely false. And as Rosemary indicated, we have been volunteer for this community for a long time. We came with extensive managerial experiences, and it is a disgrace that she asked their board to recall us. And it's especially what kind of impact would this to be to other people wanting to volunteer for this community? It's just not just you, Rosemary, and I. It's the impact of her action to the other volunteer wanting to serve the community. And I also wanted to apologize to Jeff Parker. VMS will be addressing this, but I really thank all just like Rosemary, all the hard work that we've been doing, and we will address this issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Wei Ming. On to Siobhan, do you have any final comment?
I do, thank you. I wanted to respond to Director Botta's question about electronic waste. That can be disposed of during the bulky item pickup. And again, the next bulky item pickup is this Saturday, February 20th. And as a reminder, please call Resident Services prior to sending out any bulky items for pickup. Thank you.
Thank you, Siobhan. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Jeff Parker.
I didn't have anything. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. I don't think I missed anybody. It looks like we got everybody. So with that, it is 11:04 right now. The meeting is going to be in recess for 20 minutes, and then we will reconvene in the closed session. So 20 minutes from now, we'll reconvene. Thank you, everybody.
Annie, I think you missed Donna. No?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, see everybody in 20 minutes. Thank you.